On today's episode of Locked On Wild, if you took one player from every season of Minnesota Wild hockey, what sort of roster would you end up with?
You're Locked On Wild, your daily podcast on the Minnesota Wild, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome in to another episode of Locked On Wild, your daily Minnesota Wild podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you, as always, for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss out on any new episodes throughout the week. Today's episode of Locked On Wild is brought to you by Ultimate Hockey GM. Have you ever dreamed of becoming an NHL GM and managing your hockey franchise? Well, now you can with Ultimate Hockey GM. It is completely free, and Locked On listeners get a 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo Locked On NHL in the game store. To download the game, just visit hockeygm.app or look it up on the app stores. Ultimate Hockey GM, start your dynasty today. I will start mine on Monday. On today's episode of Locked On Wild, Isha Jahromi of the Sota Pod joins us. We're going year by year throughout Minnesota Wild history, plucking players off of each season to put into the ultimate roster. We'll see what we get when we finish. My name is Seth, host of Locked On Wild, your daily Minnesota Wild insider. As mentioned, Isha Jahromi here, which means it's Friday. And that means it is time for some elite crossover content with the Sota Pod. Isha here with us. Isha, happy Friday. What's happening?
Man, we're acting like GMs today.
I know. This is going to be a lot of fun. We have, not to pat myself on the back, but I feel like we have really set the standard in terms of like cool off-season talkers. On these Friday episodes. Like, we have really done just an elite job of giving people something to go into the weekend with, that really helps kind of exercise their brains a little bit. So I'm excited to add to that here. Now, here's kind of the format of what we're going to do. So we're going year by year from 2000 all the way to this past season. And we're just going to take a player from each year and put them together in a roster, see what we come up with. There will be some very easy decisions. There will be some that are not so easy. And so, Isha, you've got your list already put together. I have it in front of me. We're going to go through yours, and I'm going to, just so that we can have kind of the other perspective, I'm going to put mine together as we go. So let's start with 2000, and this definitely falls into the easier category because it's the inaugural year of the franchise. So who did you pick from 2000, 2001 to start things off?
I actually I wanted to go off the board here and go with Jeff Nielsen. No, I'm Marian Gaborik, dude. He's the only pick from the first year.
It's pretty easy here because you like, in the other part of this that is fun is to just look at how these seasons played out. Like, Marian Gaborik was second on the team that year with 36 points. Second on the team with 36 points, but obviously just an amazing talent. Was the franchise record holder up until Kirill Kaprizov came around. We'll talk about him later, but yeah, it's Gaborik here, pretty easy. Yeah. And so I don't think we have to spend a ton of time on 2000, 2001, because it's just pretty easy selection.
Yeah. That one was easy.
2001, 2002, as I pull up the statistics here, Andrew Bruenette had himself a nice 69-point season in 81 games. Marian Gaborik had 30 goals, 37 assists. To kind of lead things from a points perspective, who did you stash on the roster for 2001, 2002?
So I went with Sergei Zholtok. Now,
Okay.
for the listeners and the viewers here on YouTube, how I kind of went about this was I wanted to draft every position, right?
Sure.
So I made sure that I didn't just quadruple up on centers, right? Like
Yeah.
the end of my list here, obviously 24 years, it's not going to be the exact rosters. We will have respectively 4 bench players at the end of it, right? But I really went in with the mentality with this exercise that like I'm coming out with 4 centers, maybe 1 extra, which you'll see I do have 1, but like 5 at the most. So I didn't draft best player available every single year. I kind of was strategic and in how I drafted. So Sergei Zoltok is my first center pick.
I like that, and this is how this is going to go. Is like we're putting a roster together.
We're not just picking their best players because that wouldn't be fun. That would be really easy.
I've got another bit that we'll be doing later on this off season that a listener sent in, where we go team by team and pick a player to take off of that roster.
Oh, I like that.
We're going to have similar stipulations for that, where it's not like you're not going to get to the Colorado Avalanche and just take Nathan McKinnon. Like that's too easy.
Well, and Zoltok will, in my final lineup, will be my second line center.
Oh, ooh, okay. I like that. For me, I am going to. I think I'm gonna go with Bruno here.
Nice.
And just for the stipulation of I like what he brings to the table. And I kind of already have some things playing in my head for how I'm gonna handle the center position on my end, but I'm gonna go Bruno here for 2001, 2002. Let's go to 2002, 2003. 95-point season for the Minnesota Wild. Pretty darn good. Gaborik, another 30-goal season. Pascal Dupuis with 20 goals. So pretty solid numbers for the fellas here. Who did you select off of this one, Isha?
I feel like everybody who knows where I came from knows who I'm selecting here. It's my boy Cliff Ronning, ladies and gentlemen, out of British Columbia. What a season he had in his, towards the end of his career. Now, I will say on my official lineup, he is my one and only center bench player. But what a bench player, third in scoring that year with all the experience that Cliff Ronning has had throughout his career.
I like that because just a solid veteran selection to bring a lot of what we've had Ryan Reeves on the Wild here recently. Well, maybe he makes my squad. We'll see. Just bringing kind of those veteran vibes. Now I'm going to
48 points, right? Veteran vibes of someone who can actually still contribute. He was 36 in that year, so he wasn't old, and I believe he retired the year after. So he had one more year with the Wild after that.
I'm going to go because I don't want to take a goalie yet, because as we talked about previously, there's some pretty good goalie seasons coming up, and some pretty good goalies in particular. So I'm not gonna burn a goalie here, but I think I'm gonna take Sergei Zoltok to just add to kind of the overall depth of the team. So Gaborik, Bruenette, and Zoltok on my end. Gaborik, Zoltok, and Cliff Ronning for you. So not too different, but don't worry, there are some differences coming. Let's get through a couple more years, and we'll break, and we'll continue in our pick a player from every year of Wild franchise history draft. We move now to 03-04. 83-point season for the Minnesota Wild. They were led in points by Mr. Daigle, Alexandre Daigle, with 51. 20 goals, 31 assists. Andrew Bruenette, 15 goals. Marian Gaborik had 18. Who did you take for 03-04?
This one, I went with the best player available. In this one, I went with Daigle.
Okay. I like that selection. Again, I'm just waiting on goalies for now. And so for this particular go around, I'm going to I can't wait to I can't wait to hear the reaction to this. I'm going Wes Walls.
Oh,
Some depth.
very nice.
Some depth on the roster. So we got a couple forwards, couple centers through the first few years of our draft. Now we'll move on next to 0506 because there was no 0405. Thanks, Gary Bettman, or whoever was commissioner at that point. And let's go here. 0405 or 0506. Brian Rolston leads the team, 34 goals, 79 points. Gaborik had 38 goals himself. Who did you take in 0506?
So I have to just make a note. We didn't talk about this ahead
Not at
of
all.
time. So I'm just gonna say I picked two players just in case, like we were just like assuming that we had that year, like what players were going to be on the roster. So I'll just say 04, 05. So I'll say between 04 and 06, I picked two players, and it was Rolston and Demitra.
Okay. Yeah, and I am going for 0506. I'm going with Brian Rolston. He's one of my favorites.
He was awesome
from a Wild perspective because he did something 3 straight years that is just like an anomaly for this franchise. 30 goals in 3 straight seasons, and that was it. He was here, he was gone, and he just left 30 goal seasons in his wake. So Rolston's got to be on the list. So he is my pick for 0506.
And Demitra, like wherever he went, he made an impact, and that's why I love him. And rest in peace. He was in that tragic plane accident when he was playing in the KHL after his little Canucks run there as well. But yeah, man, he was an absolute beast. Over 60 points, 25 goals with the Wild. Rest in peace. He was one of my like favorite, like, you know, cult fan favorite players, especially when he was with the Canucks. And just tragic when that went down. Yeah,
100%. 2006, 2007, 100-point season for the Minnesota Wilds. Rolston again, 31 goals. Pavel Demitra had 25. Gaborik had 30. Who did you pick for the 2006, 2007 season?
I picked Brent Burns.
Ooh.
My first defenseman on the board.
It's a good choice. And
winger, apparently.
Yeah. I'm going with Derek Boogaard.
Oh, legend.
Yeah. He will probably end up on, well, we'll see. We'll see as we finish. He'll probably end up on the bench, but
it depends what type of team you're building there, Seth. I mean, you're talking about Reeves and Boogaard. Like, geez, what are we building here? An Olympic team, or are we building a goon squad?
I'm building a team that is going to put people in the first row of the seats.
There you go. Good answer.
That's what you gotta have. All right, let's break. We'll continue. We've got 07, 08 and beyond to get to. We pick one Wild player every season and put a roster together. We've got more coming up on today's episode of Locked on Wild after this. Today's episode of Locked on Wild is brought to you by Ultimate Hockey GM. Hey, Locked on Wild fans, let's take a moment to bring up one of our partners, the mobile game Ultimate Hockey GM. Have you ever dreamed of becoming an NHL GM and managing your favorite hockey franchise? Do you think you could run the Minnesota Wild better than Bill Guerin? Well, your dream can come true, and this game is most definitely for you. Manage every strategic aspect of your team, play through seasons, and lead them to glory. Hire the right coaches and staff, trade players or draft picks, navigate through free agency and the draft, all in a challenging and realistic game world. As a Wild fan, you know there is no off-season. GMs are constantly making moves at every point of the year to improve their team's chances, and that's why I think, honestly, you will love Ultimate Hockey GM. And, folks, as I mentioned in yesterday's show, if anybody tries to best Bill Guerin with their running of the Minnesota Wild, screenshot your team. We'll talk about it on Locked on Wild. I want to see your participation in this because I think we all have ideas on what this Minnesota Wild roster could look like if run any particular way. Ultimate Hockey GM is completely free and playable offline. Play on the go as you want and when you want to. Locked on Network listeners get a 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code LOCKEDONNHL in the game store. That's promo code LOCKEDONNHL in the game store. So make sure to check it out. To download the game, just visit hockeygm.app. That's hockeygm.app, or look it up on the app stores. Happy GMing, folks, with Ultimate Hockey GM. Start your dynasty today. Welcome back to today's episode of Locked On Wild. Once again, we thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day. For your second listen, head on over to the Sota Pod for the full offering of content that Sota Pod brings to the table, whether it be MNCAA, whether it be Judd's Buds, whether it be Fellowship of the Rink, whether it be Sota Pod episodes featuring wonderful guests such as myself. Sota Pod has it all throughout the week, so make sure to subscribe. Stick around for some elite content.
Hey, 2 teaser guests coming on Fellowship of the Rink. We got Judd Brackett and Riley Height coming up, guys.
Ooh.
We have so many interviews banked for the summer, guys. I mean, I could give you more teasers, but I'll save it for next week.
Yeah, we like to get the tantalizing teases, and so those can be spread out for sure over the summer. All right, Isha, let's hop back in. We've got 2007, 2008 coming up for the Minnesota Wild. And for those just tuning in, we are picking one player off of every single season. Not necessarily like based off of statistics, just picking players at particular points in this franchise and adding them to a roster, which we will put together at the end of the show. Statistical leaders for the Wilds in 2007, 2008 included Marian Gaborik with his 42-goal season. Pierre-Marc Bouchard had 63 points. Brian Rolston had 31 goals. Who are you going with for 07, 08?
I'm going with my second defenseman. I'm going with Marek Zidlicky.
Okay. I like
and he
that.
will slot in my second pairing in my final lineup.
I'm thinking I should probably take a defenseman here. So I'm going to grab Brent Burns. I'm going to add him into the mix. I probably time to start looking at that part of the ice too.
You don't got many years left to pick him, so
yeah. Well, and there's a little bit of a run in the mid 2010s, but yeah, we got to round this roster out. 2008, 2009, led by Mikko Koivu, 20 goals, 47 assists. Andrew Bruenette had 22 goals. Who are you picking for 08, 09?
I'm going with a personal favorite of mine, not even just with the Wild. Like, I've always been a fan of this player. I'm going with Marty Havlat on the right side.
I like that. I like that selection. I am going to dip in to the goalie pool. I'm taking Niklas Backstrom.
Nice. Dude, one of my favorite goalies, like, growing up watching hockey. I don't think he got the love, the recognition, and honestly, just respect that he deserved league-wide, because he was unbelievable. And even those who played like the Chell games growing up around that time, he was always rated like between 89 and like 91. And yet, the hardcores knew how good he was, but like, the casuals around the league, dude, he didn't get enough respect.
He was very workmanlike in what he did. And I think that's why, because you see more and more goalies be like super flashy with what they do.
Marc-Andre Fleury.
Yeah, I think the fact that he just kind of did his business every night. And, we talked about the statistics a few months ago. They're just insane. Like the numbers that he put up year by year are just unbelievable. So,
and he played for a long time.
Yeah, he did. Backstrom is an easy choice to add into this mix. 2009, 2010, sub 500 season for the Minnesota Wild. Once again, they were led in points by Mikko Koivu again. 22 goals, 71 points. Andrew Bruenette, 25 goals. Gil Latendresse had 25 goals.
Good old Latendresse, my
talk
God.
about a
That's
blast
a
from the past there. Yeah, jeez. So who are you picking for 09, 010?
I'm going with Backstrom in this one.
Okay. 09, 010. Good Lord.
My first goalie.
I'm going Nick Schultz.
Oh, nice. I like that.
So I've got a couple defensemen to throw in the pool. I got a goalie. I've got a few centers, few forwards. We're starting to round some things out pretty solidly here.
Yeah. And we'll go over our lineup before we close out the show. How we project it would look like, and you guys can let us know where we went wrong. You guys can play head coach as we're playing GM.
Let's move to 2010, 2011. Another sub 500 season.
11-12. No. Oh, sorry. No, never mind.
2010, 2011. Marty Havlat tied with Mikko Koivu with 62 points. Andrew Bruenette still hanging around at 37. He had 18 goals. That's why I picked him. Who from 2010, 2011?
We're going Cal Clutterbuck, baby. We're gonna get a power forward in there. I've gone skill. I'm going with the power forward here. We're going with Cal Clutterbuck on the right side.
That's a great decision. I think I am going to. I've got an idea. Here from a longevity standpoint. Probably going to be a bench guy. Go ahead, Matt Cullen.
Nice. Dude, solid pick there.
Some solid depth. I as the moment I saw Cal Clutterbuck's name, I was like, all right, we may need to revisit this, but there's still plenty of seasons to come. Let's move to 2011, 2012. Another sub 500 season for the Minnesota Wild. Dany Heatley leading the way, 24 goals, 53 points.
All-star Dany Heatley, baby.
Brodziak with 22 goals. Devin Setoguchi had 19 goals. Boy, these are flashback names.
Yeah, thanks, Brett Burns, for getting us this amazing return.
Who makes the list for 2011, 2012?
Dany Heatley for this one. And for those who right now are probably shaking their head like, Isha, what are these picks? Guys, I'm rounding out my depth right now. I'm saving the juice for when it matters, okay? So just wait. My next few picks, you guys are going to be like, okay.
This is like we're doing essentially an expansion draft where you're just like you're putting players into spots. In the lineup.
And let me say, my entire bench is rounded out now. So now we're going to be cooking. Because my bench, Ronning, Havlat, Clutterbuck, and Heatley are my bench. So let's go. Now we're going to be rolling.
I have an opportunity to do something that is going to my team is going to be just a pain to play against. I'm going Cal Clutterbuck.
You know what we have to do, Seth? Like, we somehow we got to find a way to like sim our teams on like NHL. Like, I don't know if we can go back enough, but like there's got to be a way, or there's got to be like some program out there or some website where we could like put together our rosters and like see how a game would go. So I'm going to put that idea on the shelf and we're going to figure that out, because that would be hilarious. And that'd be some good content to see how, especially if we could like watch it play out, even like statistically, that would be hilarious.
Yeah, we got to find a way to make that happen. My squad is gonna like shatter. Yeah, they're gonna be in the box all the time. 2012, 2013 shortened season, and another. Actually, I think they were above. Yeah, technically above 500. 26, 19, and 3. Second in the Northwest Division. Zach Parise. In his debut season, 18 goals, 38 points. Mikko Koivu, 11 goals in 48 games. Wild only had 4 players in double-digit goals. Oh, my God. Yikes. 2012, 2013, who you got?
Well, so shortened season, okay. And again, guys, you got to think this is strategic. We're building a roster, and we're trying to get every position, and we're not trying to double up, right? So I'm lucky that this cat joined the team this year as the Minnesota Wild started to just basically poach the top lines from the Buffalo Sabres. We're going with Jason Pominville.
That's a great choice.
You can probably guess what my next year's pick's going to be based on that last statement.
I'm going Jonas Brodin here.
Nice.
I'm putting together a real solid decor, but I'm going to try to mix and match offense and defense as one typically does. So Jonas Brodin, that gives me a solid top three. You know, you could put him and Schultz together as a pretty dynamite top D pairing. But we'll continue to add as we go. And we'll do one more, then we'll take our final break. 2013-2014, 98-point season for the Minnesota Wild, for 4 in a row for Mike Yeo as head coach of your Minnesota Wild. Led in scoring by Jason Pominville, 30-goal season. Zach Parise had 29. Who you got for 2013-2014?
Actually, I got my years mixed up. I'm going Devan Dubnyk. Oh wait,
Yeah.
no, hold on. He didn't play this year there. I got my years mixed up here because Vanek joined the team next year. Well, you know what? I got him later up anyway, so we'll just say Brodin for this one.
Okay.
We'll do a little switcheroo.
We'll do a little patch.
There we go.
I am going to go some good options here. God, Bill Guerin would love this roster almost a little too much. Just because I want no, I'm not going to go that route. I was going to say Clayton Stoner would be that'd be a pick. I think I'll pick Suter here.
Nice.
Suter's he's not gonna not make the team. Like, no. Regardless of people's thoughts of him, he's not gonna be left off the roster. So then you compare him with a more defense oriented, and you're doing pretty good. All right, one final break, then we'll finish with our pick a player from every year of Wild history draft, and that is on the way after this. Today's episode of Locked On Wild is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home big wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Final segment of today's episode of Locked On Wild. Once again, we thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day. Reminder for the listeners, our next live show with Dany, What the H is Smoking, will be on Monday night at 8 p.m. So join us for the fun. The topic will be top 6. Should be a lot of fun with Dany. We talked about the show a little bit to kind of get preamped for it, and he's got some good stuff that he's bringing to the table. So make sure to tune in for that. It's Monday night at 8. Also, our first mailbag of the off season. We'll start gathering questions on Monday, so be on the lookout for that as well. All right, Isha, let's hop back in here. 2014-2015, 100-point season for the Wild. Zach Parise, 33-goal season. Thomas Vanek had 21 goals. Nino Niederreiter had 24 goals. Who you got for 2014-2015?
And this year, now that I got all my years back on track, here we go with Thomas Vanek.
I like that.
Pominville Vanek reunited in Minnesota.
Can't argue with that. I think here I am going to, boy, it's a tough call. some good options.
It's funny when it was all done, like I left some big names off the list. It's crazy.
I really want to, and I think because I've always liked the way that he plays. You know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm taking Jason Zucker.
Nice. See, that's another guy. That's another guy that like I was like, oh, do I take Vanek? Do I take Zucker? Like, but hey, I can't pass up an opportunity to put Pominville and Vanek on the line together.
Absolutely. And again, this is from our points of view that we are creating these teams. 2015, 2016 sub 500 season for the Minnesota Wilds, led in goals by Zach Parise with 25, 20 for Nino, 21 for Charlie Coyle. Who you got for 2015, 2016?
So I'm going to get my final goalie, and that is Devan Dubnyk. So, I mean, Niklas Backstrom, Devan Dubnyk, man, that is a hell of a goalie tandem.
That's real hard to...
Especially because we're assuming that all these, like, we're picking these players in their peak, right? In their prime.
Yeah. Devan Dubnyk is such a good choice that I'm going to second that.
Let's go.
Because like that run that he went on, just absurd. Like just absurd goalie play.
Hey, Edmonton almost destroyed his development. He just needed he just needed an actual good team and coaches around him, not a crazy youth invasion where we're going to give Taylor Hall, Jordan Eberle, and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins the keys to the castle and say, you guys are the leaders at 18, 19, and 20, respectively.
Yeah, not what we would call ideal.
And Sean Horkoff, who, well, if you know, you know. He may have been a veteran, but let's just say he wasn't the best leader there. That's my friend's uncle, and oh, man.
Yikes.
Stories for days, but anyways.
2016, 2017 featured Mikhail Granlund with 26 goals out of nowhere. Eric Staal, 28. Hello, Eric Staal. Nino Niederreiter, 25. Jason Zucker, 22. Who you got for 2016, 2017?
I'm going with another defenseman. I'm going with Ryan Suter.
Yeah. Again, he wasn't going to not make this. He was going to make the squad.
Say what you want about him and what he does and says off the ice, dude. He was an amazing defenseman. Like when in Nashville, when he played with Shea Weber, that was arguably like for like a good 5-year run, like the best defensive pairing in the league.
Yeah.
They were able to shut down the Sedins with ease, and no one was able to do that, dude.
20. I'm taking Eric Staal here. I just about skipped my pick, but Eric Staal, again, just unbelievable numbers. 40-goal season for the Minnesota Wild, which again at the time was unheard of. Kirill Kaprizov has turned it into just with ease. So speaking of 40-goal season, 2017-2018, that was Eric Staal, 42 goals, 33 for Zucker, 21 for Granlund. Who you got for 2017-2018?
I got Jared Spurgeon. Yeah,
that's a very solid choice. So this is again, boy, I'm gonna really have to really iron this out here. I'm taking Joel Eriksson Ek here. We've got like 90 centers, center depth that would be enviable today. Not today. A couple years ago.
I only really had to make 3 adjustments. Once on the air here, because thanks lockout season for throwing everything, throwing everything up in the air there. And then for me it was I didn't have an extra center, but the wings. I had to really tighten up on the wings.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go on a little wing run here, but I think I have put myself in position to be able to do that without too much issue. All right, let's move to 2018-2019. Zach Parise leads the way with 28 goals. Eric Staal, 22. Jason Zucker, 21. Who you got 2018-2019? I'm
going Eric Staal on this one. I'm going Eric Staal. Still had a good year. But again, if we're assuming that we're picking the Eric Staal, with in his prime with the Wild, it's he could arguably be my top center. I mean, honestly, with all the centers I have, it doesn't matter. Like we're building like kind of like an Olympic team here. Like
right.
For the most part, right? Like any one of the lines I put together respectively could be a top line, I think.
I'm going with Greg Pattern. No, I'm kidding.
Who?
The man that Bill Guerin traded for Ian Cole straight up because Colorado needed to shed some cap space. I'm going to take Spurgeon here. Round out that. Well, no, I need one more defenseman, but that's fine. I've got 5 years to do it. All right, let's go to 2019, 2020. Just above 500 were your Minnesota Wild, led in scoring by Kevin Fiala with 54 points. Zach Parise, 25 goals. Matt Zuccarello had 15 in his Wild debut. So some new faces joining the squad this year. Who you got for 2019, 2020?
I got Matt Dumba.
Solid.
Matt Dumba. I needed another defenseman.
I'm going Kevin Fiala here.
Very nice.
Get him added into the mix because I've got a route that I'm going to go for one of my other defensemen that I think is going to surprise you.
Okay. So my defensemen, like I got them all now. My defense core is done. So
I need one more. As you'll see here, probably this year. 36, 16, and 5 for 2020, 2021. Third in the West. Under Dean Evison. Kirill Kaprizov leading the team in scoring with 27 goals, 51 points. Fiala had a 2020 season. Joel Eriksson had 19 goals. Who you got for 2020, 2021?
I'm going with Kevin Fiala.
It's a good choice. This one is going to be controversial. I'm going Carson Soucy.
The tsunami, as my friend calls him.
I was just a huge fan of Soucy when he was here. He had size. He knew what to do with it.
Good skater.
Perfect for a third pairing in the group that I've put together. So I'm going Carson Soucy to round out that D-core. A couple more years left. 2021, 2022. This was the big one. 113 points, 53, 22, and 7. Kaprizov had 100 points, 47 goals. Fiala, 85. Zuccarello, 79. Hartman, 65. Eriksson had 49 points. Freddie Gaudreau had 44. Who you got for 21, 22?
I mean, my next three picks, Seth, it doesn't really matter what year it was in their production in each year. It's rounding out the roster with some high-end talent. So we'll go Matt Boldy this year.
All right. I'm going Kaprizov here because, I mean, it's Kaprizov. Like, you're not going to not take Kirill. 22-23. Another 100-point season for the Wild. They were led in points by Kaprizov again with 75.
In 67 games, though. In 67 games. If he played a full year, he would have hit 100 again.
He would have definitely hit 100. Zuccarello at 67, Boldy 63, Eriksson at 61, and then there's a bit of a drop after that. Who you got for 22?
Addison at 29. Just want to point that out.
Yeah, throw that out.
Shout out to you, Hoppy. Shout out to you.
Throw that out there with that minus 17. I kid.
I'm going Kaprizov in 2023.
I'm going Boldy here. And then our final season, 2023-2024, sub 500, 87 points, led in scoring by Kirill with 96 points. Boldy had 69. Nice. Eriksson had 64. Zuccarello 63. Then there's a bit of a drop to the player that I'm selecting here to finish it off. I'm going Brock Faber.
One of us had to. I'm going with Joel Eriksson to round out my centers.
That's a solid choice. I think honestly, as I look at
it was too hard for me to fit Faber in.
Yeah,
it really was. I had to make like late adjustments. I'm like, well, then I have to go back to like 2005 or 2006. It was just like, you know what? He had an amazing rookie season. I'm okay not having him on my roster, on my team, as it's complete here. And again, like Parise's not on my team. Zuccarello's not on my team. Zucker's not on my team, right? So as we wrap up here, Seth, should we go over our projected lineup?
Yes, we should. And I'm going to let you, since you already have yours put together, go ahead and just rifle through it, because I think I'm going to do one thing while you are going through your lineup, and I'll do that, and then we'll talk about it.
All right. So my forwards, realistically, it doesn't matter. Like these aren't 1, 2, 3, 4 in order. All of these respectively could be a top line, especially if if you're operating under the exercise that we were, that all these players, we picked them in their respected prime, right? Like,
yeah,
we're not talking Pavel Demitra in his last year, right? We're talking Pavel Demitra putting up 60 points, right? So I'll say, okay, my first line here would be my first line, but second, third, and fourth, change them, swap them as you guys want. So first line, we're going Kaprizov, Eriksson, Marian Gaborik. Second line, Thomas Vanek, Sergei, Zholtok, and Jason Pominville, which honestly, I would love to see that line play.
Yeah.
Third line, Brian Rolston, Eric Staal, Daigle. Fourth line, Boldy, Demitra, Kevin Fiala. Defense pairings, Brent Burns. These ones I did put in order in how I would, as a coach, ice them. Brent Burns, Ryan Suter, Zidlicky, Spurgeon, Matt Dumba, Jonas, Brodin. Goaltenders, Niklas Backstrom, and one of the best 1As ever, or 1Bs ever, I should say, in Devan Dubnyk behind them. And my bench, Cliff Ronning, Marty Havlat, Cal Clutterbuck, and Dany Heatley.
I'm obsessed with I'm just gonna leave it. I'm obsessed with the fourth line that I put together. We'll talk about it here, but so my forward combinations, I'm gonna go Gaborik, Eriksson, and Kaprizov for line 1. For line 2, I think I am going to go with Bruenette, Staal, and I'll put Fiala on that line too.
That's a good line, man. That's a good line.
Yeah,
that would be a tough line to play against too.
For line 3, I'm going to go with Boldy, Rolston, and I'll put Bruenette. Or did I put Bruenette on line 2?
You put Bruenette on line 2.
Okay. So then I'm going to go Boldy, Rolston, Zucker. And listen to this for the fourth line. Derek Bugard, Matt Cullen, and Cal Clutterbuck.
It's not a lot of speed there, but it's a tough line.
There will be dead people on the ice going up against that line. Then on defense, I'm going to go with Schultz and Suter as my top pairing. Then Burns and Brodin. And I'll finish with Faber and Spurgeon as the third pairing. And then, of course, you've got for goalies, Backstrom and Dubnyk.
Yeah, you can't really. I mean, we could have gone Marc-Andre, and honestly, I was thinking about it, but I was like, honestly, no. Like and maybe in his prime, Stanley Cup goaltender, I get it. But Niklas Backstrom and Devan Dubnyk with the Wild, respectively, they weren't streaky. And I'm not saying that Marc-Andre Fleury was streaky with the Minnesota Wild, but his prime with the Wild was a little bit different.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it looks more like it. The rosters are pretty impressive, but we see it play out in full view. Just the lean years for this franchise, like the years in which there just wasn't a ton of elite offensive talent.
Yeah. Well, and even though the exercise was tough, and it's not like we're just picking best player available of all time for the Wild and putting them on a team. We had to be a little strategic, and we had to make it, somewhat fair, because in exercise we're just picking the best players. Like, anyone can do that. This was a challenge because we had to pick for position. So yeah, we picked the best players available by position, not just like we're just going to throw all these guys, and a right winger can be a left winger, and whatever. A center can be a winger. No, we actually went with centers. We went with wingers in their appropriate spot. even so, we each built super teams here. If we look at it from like, if you look at Olympic teams, right? Olympic teams are super teams, right? Best players in each country respectively.
Yeah.
Both of our teams, and correct me if I'm wrong, Seth, and those viewing us on YouTube and those listening us on the podcast, because I want to hear your feedback. My team, it's only like Finland, Czech Republic level. You know, we aren't USA, we're not Russia, we're not Sweden, we're not Canada. You know?
Yeah.
And that still goes back to, you know, I hate to say it, like, just historically, the Wild haven't had those superstars to make that insane team, super team, right?
We have a collection of players that had good seasons, like, and good careers,
and that can beat those super teams. Like a team, you know, a Czech team, a good Czech team, and a good Finland team can beat Canada, can beat the United States, can beat the Russian national teams.
But if you did this with any other franchise, like it would blow the Wild out of, not any other, but many other.
Let's be honest, most. Yeah. This is a good, we've put good depth teams together that are hard to play against. But like, even if you look at like for example, Team USA in the Olympics coming up here is going to be the best team. Yeah. And I say that as a Canadian. The Americans are going to be the best team because their fourth line is 100-point players, right? This fourth line, you know, I got Matt Boldy, Pavel, Demitra, Kevin Fiala. Great players, but
yeah, I'm just going to be
your fourth line is just a goon, but
mine is just going to be trying to take heads off on the ice. But
yeah,
hey, I just want to have fun out there with my squad and to just be yelling at the officials the entire game. So hope everybody had fun. Today's listener question: who do you feel like was the most glaring omission from our lists? Which player do you think should have been on? Which players that we had should be off? What players what did you think of our lists? What did you think of our lists is today's listener question. We'll follow back up with this on Monday. Isha, thanks for the time. Listeners, make sure to subscribe wherever you listen and have a great weekend. We'll be back with you on Monday. You're on Locked On Wild.
Go Panthers!